Okay, so I need to put my hand up and say that I did something kind of bad. Bad. I watched the film version of Katerine Paterson's Bridge to Terabithia before I read the book, something I don't normally do, and I wish I hadn't. The book is so much better than the film. Which, now I think about it, kind of always is the case anyway. Bridge to Terabithia follows the character of Jesse Aarons as he befriends his new next-door neighbour Leslie Burke. Jesse has always wanted to be the fastest runner in Year 5, but deep down he's a very creative person, but because he's so shy he's never let his full creative potential be shown to others. Leslie, on the other hand, is an outgoing, fun-loving tomboy, and she's just moved from the country to the city and doesn't quite find herself fitting into the rural school she now finds herself in. But when the two eventually do become friends, their lives are changed forever, as they escape the real world and enter into the imaginary place of Terabithia, a magical creation of their own minds, full of kings and queens and mythical creatures, somewhere where they can truly be themselves and not care what anyone else thinks. This is a very simple story, and not much happens in the way of huge action pieces or anything like that, but don't let that put you off. Katerine Paterson finds other ways of drawing you into her story, like using the lunchtime sports races or the side stories involving the school bullies, and of course the trips into Terabithia themselves, which I found as a reader longing for as much as the characters did. It's a surprising and sometimes sad story with a big twist, which has a lot to say about friendship and growing up and dealing with the trials of life. There are some really believable and honest portraits of characters in this story, particularly Jesse and Leslie, and the dialogue and conversations between them sound almost as if you're eavesdropping on their conversation behind a closed door, which is great. Jesse's frustration with being the one boy in a family of 4 girls is well written, and the emotions that the characters show are well crafted and explored throughout the book as the characters deal with life and growing up. The setting descriptions are good, from the school classroom to the farm where Jesse lives, or to the museum in Washington where Jesse pays a visit. I particularly like the creek outside where they go to Terabithia, because this rises and rises ominously throughout the story, which almost feels like the village are getting closer and closer, and that's very clever. I also like the descriptions of Terabithia that are there, although there aren't many of them, because these are left out in favour of a more human story, which is what Bridge to Terabithia is at its heart, rather than a fantasy story like Lord of the Rings or The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, for example. This is a gentle and poignant story which I think everyone should read. It deals with some sad and difficult subjects, but in a way that's not overly soppy or too sentimental, but in a way that's very real. I don't want to reveal too much, but by the end of the book I really felt what the characters were feeling, and their emotion really comes through. There are also some really important life lessons to be learnt from reading this book.